Hey guys, welcome back. We're going to get on a new video today, and we're going to be going through and overhauling these carburetors off of this. It's a 1971 Arctic Cat Panther 440. It did have a Kawasaki engine in it. I swapped in a Polaris Indy Light 340. So we're going to be going through the carburetors today, and I'll be showing you guys how they go and how they work step by step. So let me get you guys set up on the camera and we'll get started. Alright guys, so on this setup we've got two Mikunis, and you're going to want to start with just basically tearing them down just to the bodies. You're just going to pull the slide out. This is spring loaded, so just be cautious. So you got your slide right there, and then there's your needle. And then you're going to want to remove your choke. That looks like it's going to be a 12 millimeter. They're in there sometimes. Sometimes these can get stuck in here. Right down in there. It's kind of, the plunger is kind of seized into the body, so I'm gonna have to work at that a little bit. Let me get some PB Blaster in there and start working that loose. Just a little bit right in there, just enough to get it soaking. And then I'm just going to let that sit for a minute, and then we'll try and remove it. So I add up there a little bit of PB Blaster, and I actually had to apply some heat to it. I got the plunger loose. Yeah, as you can see, it's pretty corroded. Looks good though. It's going to be a little bit of cleaning. Now your carburetor should be just pretty much down to no cables at this point. And we're going to start removing exterior stuff. Like right here is your idle adjuster screw that you could just take out with your hand. And always have a parts tray when you're doing this, just so you don't lose anything. Just gonna unscrew that guy. He's gonna have a spring on him and a needle at the end. Yeah, you see that right there. And then we got our idle air mixture screw, or not idle air, fuel air mixture screw, I should say. I have to get that out of there. It's just a flathead. Grab one. Alright. Just gonna unscrew that guy. We're just taking off the exterior stuff right now. After this, we'll dig into the bowl. See that guy? Get right there. If you see inside here, there's actually another spring right there. You want to make sure you find these, because you go pick up your carburetor while it's apart, and then you got parts falling out of it and you don't know where they go. So always double check once you remove something. And basically that's everything on the outside, so we'll start digging into the bowl now. Now for these screws, you are going to want to have a set of GIS screws, or else you can already see, and some of these are already stripped out because people aren't using the right tools on these. You want JIS, Japanese standard screwdrivers, because that's what these are. So you have to get yourself a set of those, because these are always cranked on there absurdly tight. Yeah, that's actually not bad. I'd crack them all loose instead of loosening one at a time and taking it all the way out, because then you're taking all the pressure and putting it on one screw, which is going to make it harder to remove. So just loosen them all evenly, kind of like you would do on a rebuild if you were taking a head off an engine or something, or even just like tightening the lug nuts on a car wheel. You want to tighten and loosen as even as possible to prevent any bowing or pressure. that out of there. And the last one. Now I don't know if this bowl is going to come right off. Most of the time they don't. It's probably going to be kind of stuck on there. You have to tap it. Alright, that's all the screws. Let's see. No, let's loose. There we go. Alright, that's not, yeah, there's some corrosion going on in there. Not too bad though. So you see, on these snowmobile carburetors, they got a little bit different of a setup. You see these floats right here that go up and down. They're two separate floats instead of there being just a float bowl on here. You see the pin's already coming out. So those floats just rise up and down, and then this is basically your float. The floats themselves are just separate from the bracket. So you want to make sure you got that all set up right. You want to make sure that you've got these rubber little, I don't know what you call them, little end caps on here to keep them on there. Because if you don't have them on there, chances are your bowl will fill all the way up with fuel, and those will just rise and come right off, and they'll probably have fuel coming out of the overflow on the carburetor or flooding issues, one of the two. So you don't want to take that. You see right here, you're gonna have this little pin. You just kind of want to, sometimes they come out easy, sometimes you gotta hammer the shit out of them. You just take that guy out. That should fall right out. You want to make sure that little tab is facing up, because if you see, that is a stopper for the float height. You want to make sure you got that up. You don't want to have that down. And then you're going to have your needle. Yeah, that guy's kind of dirty. And then you're basically left with is your main jet and your pilot jet. Chances are, if one of the two is clogged, it's going to be your pilot jet because it's smaller. So I'll get the screwdrivers and we'll start removing this. And we'll also remove the seat, because I've also had cases where carburetors have had filters built into the seats on these, under them. I'm not sure on this one, but the last set of carbs I did, they do. So always keep your eye out. Make sure you turn it down all the way, or else you're wasting your time. Alright, well, I got my punch that fits the size of the brass, and I'm just lightly tapping. It shouldn't be that hard to get out. Yep, there we go. Yeah, it's almost out. A little farther. Yeah, you see that? Yeah, it still needs to come out. I need to find a longer punch. I could probably just improvise and probably just this. Just tap the outer edge. Oh, almost. There it is. There we go. This is our emulsion tube. Now these tend to build up a lot of crap. Oh boy, just about lost that part stray. But tend to build up a lot of crap along the outside here and the inside here. And on 4-stroke engines, you'll see that this is a bit different because this is just for a snowmobile engine. But on the 4-strokes, usually there's a ton of holes here, and they are always clogged up because they never get taken out when someone cleans the carburetor, because they don't know about them, and then they put it back together and they wonder why it still runs like crap. You always want to take these out. And then what we got left? We got our pilot jet. Now make sure you're using the right screwdriver, because this flathead, they will strip out quicker than you think. You want to apply really good pressure and you'll feel it grab. There it is. There's your pilot jet. Doesn't look too bad. Well, she's clogged though, so we're gonna have to run that through the cleaner. And then what we got left, we have the seat, and it looks like that's just gonna be a 10mm socket. And we got one right here actually. This might be difficult to do. See, that's what I'm always talking about. 12 point. You want a 6 point. Let me grab a 6 point. do not have a set of 6-point sockets, so this is what I have to deal with. Worked fine though. Screw that guy out and make sure you pay attention because there's going to be a washer on it. Yeah, that guy's nasty. These are always tend to be the nastiest parts because this is where the fuel first enters the bowl of the carburetor. And you're going to have this little O-ring right here. If you can, try not to tear it unless you have a rebuild kit. In these cases, I do not have a rebuild kit, so try not to tear it if you can. Yeah, I have a grommet kit, so I could probably get away with just using a generic one, but I would like to reuse this. Yeah, there we go. There you go. And now we are pretty much, yeah, we are down to the carburetor body. And at this point, I'm going to fire up my ultrasonic cleaner. All I have, I just have a Harbor Freight ultrasonic cleaner. I'm gonna have to jump that out and put fresh stuff in it, and then just this cleaning powder, a little bit of soap, and it'll clean the thing right up. I'll get back to you guys once this thing's coming out. Alright guys, so right here's my it's just Harbor Freight ultrasonic cleaner. It works pretty well for what I do. It's just big enough for me to fit some carburetors in it and some other small parts. All I do is I just put in some soapy water, and then I'm this cleaning powder, just a little sprinkle in there like that, and then you just take your car body or whatever you're putting in there, you just set that in there like that, and then you just hit on. It's amazing. You can just watch the dirt and everything just come off it. So I'm gonna let that soak for, I don't know, 15-20 minutes. Come back. While I do that, I'm gonna go through the other carburetor, and I'll get back to you guys. And also guys, don't forget, and if you are using a ultrasonic cleaner or something along the lines of that, make sure you are removing the little small rubber stops on the float, so you can take the floats off and inspect them, because you don't want to damage these. You want to keep these separate, and you want to make sure it even says it's labeled up, and this is on the bottom, and this just goes on this shaft just like that. You want to make sure that the shaft has no corrosion on it, and you may even want to oil it a little bit when you go to reinstall it. And also guys, one more tip for you. You're going to want to remove this bowl drain when you're cleaning the carburetors, because all the garbage that tends to collect is always going to end up in the bottom. Like if you see, like there's just this nice milky substance in the bottom of these, so you're going to want to make sure you remove this. This looks like probably a 14mm, and it has a crush washer on it. If the crush washer looks damaged, replace it. They're normally okay because they normally don't get taken out because people don't winterize their things, so just make sure you look out for that. Alright guys, just got the carburetor out of the ultrasonic cleaner. Looking pretty good. Probably about as good as it's going to get for how old this thing is. But I know everybody doesn't have an ultrasonic cleaner, so you don't have to have an ultrasonic cleaner. You can always just get a can of brake clean, carb cleaner. You can get that stuff with the barrel where you can soak the carburetor inside the little, it's like a paint can with the little, it's got a little nut in it. You can put it in there and let it soak for a few hours, take it out. But it's really just about making sure your jets are clean, making sure that you can see through them, and making sure that your float and needle are not stuck. And in theory, it should work just fine. So we're going to get on to putting this carburetor back together. We're going to start with the bowl. That in the bottom is pitting just from the rotten gas over the years. There's nothing you can do about it. So we will start with putting our drain in. So you gotta make sure you've got your crush washer. And then there's a little needle that goes in here. This isn't the same for all other carburetors. This is the first time I've seen a setup like this. And then just take your little 6mm and just snug that guy up. And that guy just goes in here like this. You just tighten that up. Tighten that. Not too tight, but tight enough. And then we are going to take our floats, and like I said, up. I'm gonna put them on just like this, just like that. You're gonna take your little rubber caps, and you're just gonna, they just clip on there. They can be a pain sometimes, especially when they're old and dry rotted, just like that. See? Now, just in my opinion, I would take a little bit of penetrating oil, just a little bit. The fuel will act as a lubricant too, but I mean, like, you're just dab that shaft, and then just make sure that that's moving freely on there, so you don't have to worry about your floats getting stuck. And then up, just like that. And then just the other rubber cap, and just like that. And the bowl is ready to go back onto the carburetor. Now onto the main body of the carburetor. We're going to install our emulsion tube first. Now you got to remember that goes in through the top, and it's keyed. It has a keyway. Here, let me give you a little bit better perspective here. It's got, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a key here, and then if you look down this, there is a pin right there that needs to line up with, or else it is not going to seat all the way. So you need to get this, it can be a trick, but you're going to want to get this down, and you want to line that up. It's going to be a pain. Just kind of get it started. Alright guys, once you get that started in there, and you think you've got that lined up pretty well, you can kind of see in there, it's pretty hard to see. You're going to want to just take your, take a punch, just lightly. I mean, you want to be very cautious here. This is delicate. You're going to want to just be, here, let me. You're just barely tapping that guy down. Should go down pretty easy. Some carburetors, it'll just slide right, yeah, see, it's sliding right in now. But you're going to want to make sure, you see how it's not seated all the way? Now you're going to probably want to tap it. That sounds like it's seated. Yep. See that's seated all the way? See that little notch right there? It's lined up with the key. That means you're good to go. Then you're going to want to take your washer. Do not forget the washer. Your main jet. Always double check and make sure you can see through it. We're going to just screw that guy in, and that's going to hold that emulsion tube in place. You just take your 8mm and then just tighten this guy right up, just like that. And that's it. And then your main jet is installed. Now we will install our pilot jet. Got our pilot jet right here, and once again you want to double check. You want to make sure that you can see daylight through this. They make little carburetor cleaning kits that come with like little needles that you can poke through, but I've always just used a piece of you just strip back some wire, some copper wire, and you can poke that through, because sometimes you get them where it's like concrete in there. And then you just want to drop that guy right in there, into this hole. That's for the pilot. And then you just want to snug that guy up. Don't go crazy tightening this, because you're just gonna hurt the next guy, or even yourself in a few years. Just tighten. You don't want it too loose, but you don't want it too tight. Just like that. And then we can install our seat don't forget your gasket, or else it's going to leak and you are going to have problems. I'm just going to take that guy and just tighten him up. Tighten him up just like that. Just tight. And you can drop your needle in. Make sure the tip of that guy is clean. Some of them, the tips are rubber. Make sure that the rubber is not rock hard. Drop that guy in there. And then, like I said, make sure this tab is facing up, or else you're going to have problems. You just get this guy lined up right here. Take your pen. Doesn't hurt to have some oil on the pen. And just slide that guy through. And then there you go. Your carburetor is pretty much assembled fully on the inside. And now you can go about installing your bowl. Just like that. And then you just put your screws back in and you're good to go there. Now guys, when you're tightening these screws for the bowl, you want to tighten them evenly. Like I was saying earlier, tighten them like you would tighten on lug nuts on a car wheel. You want to tighten them evenly. You don't want to crank one all the way down and then have the rest loose. You want to tighten them down evenly because this is a mating surface. You have a gasket. Just like that. And you should be good to go, as long as you didn't rip your bowl gasket. Alright, and now we're just bowls installed, and now we're just on to the last few things. We are just going to install, don't forget your spring. Remember the spring, your idle adjustment, and that just goes right in the side right here. Just tighten that up. I would say tighten that all the way in and then back it out about 3 turns. It's just one of those things that you can't really adjust until you have it on the bike or snowmobile or go-kart or whatever you're working on. Just have that snug. You have to adjust it once you get it on the bike, get it running. And then you have your air fuel mixture screw. You just put that guy in right there. Tighten that guy in a little bit. Take your flathead. Now usually my rule of thumb, being that this is a snowmobile, is you're going to want to tighten this. This can go for a lot of other things too. Tighten this in all the way and then back it out 2.5 turns. So 1, 2.5 right there. Should be pretty good to go. And then pretty much that's about it. Anybody can do this. It's not too hard. Just make sure you keep track of your parts and remember where they go. If you need to take pictures, take pictures. It's pretty simple. Anybody can do it. And then you're just going to reinstall your slide right back into here. There's a pin on each side. One's for the idle, as you can see on this, the much bigger side. This is going to go on this side of the carburetor, and then this is going to go on this side of the carburetor. So just like this. It doesn't hurt to have a little bit of oil on these or clean them up if they have corrosion, because last thing you want is these things sticking. Just slide that guy in there like that. Tighten him up. And that's good. And then you just take your choke. You just take that guy and you stick that guy right in right there. It's spring loaded, so be careful. Take that guy, stick him right on in there, and then just tighten. It's spring loaded too, so you're gonna have to, it's a little bit of a trick. You gotta keep pressure on it as you thread it in, just like that. And then you just take your 12mm and just snug that guy up, and you are good to go. You have a fully rebuilt carburetor. This should be good to go back on the bike. So yeah, thanks guys for watching. If you have any questions, just message me. I can explain and I can help you guys out, but this is very simple and anybody can do it. You can get your old bike running or snowmobile running that's been sitting in your backyard for years. So thanks for watching, guys.